everyone. I welcome all the participants to join in for the wonderful quick presentation which is coming up now. So our presenter is Philipp Plannet, a venture development manager, Wayra Telefonica, and the topic is very much interesting and enticing in the industry which is coming up 5G, the game change for mobile gaming. So over to you, Philipp. Thank you.
Thank you for introducing me. Thank you for having me here. So, my name is Philipp Plannet. I am working for Wayra, which is one of the biggest corporate venture capital arms in the world. And we are the venture capital arm of Telefonica. I will come to that later. So, the topic of today is 5G. And we will talk about, and I will present about some stuff about it, and we will try to find out if it's a game changer for mobile gaming. But before I start with the topic, I would like to congratulate my colleague Eduardo Moreno, because he was recognized by DIGITALCONFEX, so from your team, guys, for being one of the 25 best artists in gaming, VR, or in the technology industry. And I just wanted to say that because he did a great job in the last years and month, and he really deserved this award. But now back to my presentation. So, as I already said, I'm from Wayra. And Wayra is the incubator and CVC from Telefonica. And since this is a very international group here, I already saw that from the other presentations. I wanted to give you a short overview what is Telefonica, because maybe some of you doesn't know that. So Telefonica is one of the largest telecommunication companies in the world. We serve almost 370 million customers worldwide. And we are active in 12 countries, but mostly operating in Europe, for example, in Spain, UK, or Germany, and in Latin America. In these countries, we generate revenue around 40 billion euros in 2021. And across the world, we have over 100,000 employees. So we are a really big company, and gaming is getting a lot or more and more important for us. And now I introduced myself and introduced the company I'm working for. Some of you may get why I'm talking about 5G, right? But there's another point, and in my opinion, a much more important point. In terms of gaming, every millisecond counts. I think we can agree on that statement, right? At least I have been noticing that statement, or what is the statement is about, very briefly, because one of my good friends, who I've played League of Legends with over the last 10 years, moved to India last year. And if we wanted to still play in our group of friends, he had to play from India on the European servers. And this ended in a ping for him around 150 to up to 500 milliseconds. And if some of you are gamers, you know playing with that high pings is a real problem. So you will not have fun. And I just wanted to give you this example because in terms of PC and console gaming, this is more an exception. So in the most countries of the world, obviously in the Western countries, more or less everywhere, you can game with under 30 or at least under 50 milliseconds of latency. But in terms of mobile gaming, latency is still a huge problem. For example, in Europe and in many other countries in the world, we have 4G LTE everywhere, right? But while it's very fast, it still has the problem with the latency. So in a 5G network, the latency can still be up to 80 milliseconds, and it's not that stable, which is not great in terms of competitive mobile gaming. And for my example, I am from Munich. I'm talking from Munich today. 50 to 60 milliseconds of latency is not uncommon. And this is where 5G comes in. So I would like to give you a short overview about the history of networks, where we are coming from, what is the evolution. So when we're talking about 1G, it's basically the analog network we had in the past. So no mobile network, it was only analog. You were able to talk with your friends and family via the telephone. And it more or less started in the 1990s, where with 2G, the first digital network, which allowed uh, to telephone, to talk, and to write SMSs with your friends via your mobile phone. And while this was a huge change in terms of the network, it was also a small change in terms of mobile gaming, since that was the time where the first mobile games came on into the cell phones. So maybe some of you remember that. I think it's a classic. It's called Snake, and all the old smartphones, all the old cell phones had that. And when we came into the 2000s, so into the 3G network time, that was the start into the mobile internet. We know it today. So it went much faster. And in terms of mobile gaming, the first, let's say, um, more interesting, more complex games came onto the smartphone. And in between the time from 3G to 4G, in the late 2000s, at the time where also the Apple released the first iPhone, mobile gaming started to rise, since the first competitive, more or less competitive smartphone games came onto the market. So mobile gaming, the real gaming experience started at that time, in my opinion. And with 4G LTE, so the most common network we use in the world today, mobile gaming basically skyrocket. There are a few examples of games which were part of the time, and one game I want to show you because I think most of you know that one. It's Pokemon Go. So Pokemon Go was a game which which really needed fast internet in real time, so you could go through the streets, through the cities with your AR on your phone and look at the Pokemons. And now we are in the 2020s. 5G is everywhere in the media. Many countries started to roll out, and South Africa, is one of the leading countries for the continent in terms of 5G. We might have new types of games, but we come to that later. First of all, I want to talk about the advantages. Why could 5G be a game changer for mobile gaming? So the first and one of the most important points is the latency. You might heard that already, since I was talking about the latency problem with my short story. Why we still have latencies up to 80 milliseconds in 4G, which is a bit too high for competitive gaming. Many competitive esport gamers have latencies between 15 to 30 milliseconds or even less. With 5G, we are on the same level as fiberglass. So we have extremely low latency, less than 10 milliseconds. In the nearer future, we can go down to 3 to 5 milliseconds. So it's really great for mobile gaming, but also for other cases. The next 5G advantage obviously is the speed. While most 4G networks allow us to download stuff with up to 600 megabytes per second, in theory, 5G networks can go up to 10 gigabit per second. Just think about yourself what that would mean if you have games on your computer you want to on your smartphone you want to download, if you want to send big video files you did or animation files which you have on your mobile device. 5G is a difference here. The next advantage, which is more and more important for the industry, is connection and stability. So with 5G, we are able to connect much more devices with each other and with the servers at the same time. It's way more stable, so the connection is way more stable, and it's much more secure than 5G was. And the next point, which is in my opinion also interesting for games developer, that 5G, the consumption of 5G networks is up to 90% less than what 4G networks needed. Now I was talking a bit of the advantages which 5G has. Now I want to talk a bit about the most famous use cases you always hear in the media, besides of gaming, obviously. So the first one is the Industry 4.0. So as I already told you, 5G networks helps us to have a very secure network and a stable network, which is so important if you're building a fabric with thousands of automated machines which have to communicate with each other and do tasks by their own. But as I also said, now we have the opportunity to build fabrics with thousands of machines who can speak to each other without a problem. With 4G, we had the problem if we connect too many machines at the same time, we might have issues with the network. 5G is here a game changer for the industry. And the next case, which is very famous, is the advanced tele and remote health sector. So if you have latencies less than 10 milliseconds, you could have surgery robots who doing operations on a human being while you as a doctor are on the other side of the country. You don't need to be on the same place to have an operation with a patient, with someone who has a problem, because thanks to 5G, the connection is so fast. You could basically say it's in real time. It's the same feeling as when you do it by yourself, which is really great. And there are already some startups and companies. For example, in the US, there are some companies. One robot, it's called the Da Vinci robot, who's doing exactly that for US soldiers abroad. And 5G could help countries who have a wide rural area and not many hospitals and doctors to make complicated surgeries available for everyone, because you just need one machine at your place and maybe some nurseries who help you to get into the system, and the rest will be done by a doctor who's sitting in another country, maybe in another continent. The most famous case, I guess, is autonomous driving. Especially in Europe, the media is full of it. Everyone wants to see if Tesla really can manage to make their cars autonomous, and it doesn't matter with whom you're talking about autonomous driving. 5G is one of the major technological key parts which we need to make that happen. Just try to think about you driving a car and the car in front of you is braking. So if you have to stop your car immediately, you don't want to have a latency up to 80 milliseconds. You want that your car stops in real time and reacts to different situations in real time. And there's a huge improvement where 5G will help the industry to make that happen. And the last case, which is also very famous, is the smart city case. In smart city, in terms of smart cities, it's a bit like the Industry 4.0. So you have, in theory, in a bigger city, millions of devices who want to be connected and who wants to be or who want to communicate with each other. And 5G is a solution for these smart cities to have a network who is stable enough, who is secure enough, who has a broadband, who has where the internet speed is fast enough that thousands or 10,000s of devices on the same time can send or receive data packages. And therefore, 5G will be a major point here. And now, back to gaming. So the the topic we are talking is if 5G not only a game changer for the industry, but is it also a game changer for mobile gaming? And I brought a comment from a German newspaper for you. I translated it in English. The biggest weakness of Google Stadia, so the cloud gaming project of Google, remains the latency. Playing with over 90 milliseconds is not really fun. So this article was from 2020. As you might know, Google stopped the Stadia program because it wasn't successful. And as you can see, what the German gaming newspaper said is that one of the key points why Stadia wasn't successful is the latency. And as you might got it from the first sentences of my presentation, 5G is here or will help in terms of the latency. So basically 5G can help us to make mobile cloud gaming happen. And you just have to imagine that with a connection to a cloud in real time with basically unlimited speed, or it's not unlimited, but you will never need so much download speed as 5G can deliver to you. You can play basically anything on your mobile device. You just have to connect, for example, your PC games or your PS5 games to your tablet via a cloud, which is connected to 5G, and you could play competitive League of Legends if you want to. You could play competitive Call of Duty. You could stream in real time 4K gaming, which takes a huge amount of data, but obviously with 5G, it's not a problem anymore. With 5G, we have the opportunity to play anything you want. It doesn't matter for which hardware it was, let's say, developed in the first place to a mobile device. The second and third case in terms of mobile gaming where 5G will help is VR and AR. For example, with VR headsets, if we connect them with the cloud and they don't have to render the games or the applications on their, let's say, more or less small graphic unit, which is included in their motherboard, you can stream any game that you want and you have it in real time, which will make VR gaming so much more immersive. And the same will happen in AR. So AR glasses can be much thinner because they don't need a big computer chip anymore. They just need a small chip who processes the internet connection via 5G to our cloud. And then you can just stream anything you want into your glasses. So for both cases, 5G can help a lot. But 5G is not only here to help existing business models, to help gamers or developers to make mobile gaming as we already know it and we already love it happen. No, 5G can also help to develop new ways of gaming. And therefore, we developed a case with a European gaming startup, and we called it more or less remote reality gaming. And now you will see a small video, um, which you can hopefully see, which shows what I mean. So you can play wherever you want to be on the world, and on the same time, you play with real cars. In this case, it's RC cars, and as you saw, one of the gamers were in Paris, the other one in Sydney, the next one sits in Munich, like me. You can be anywhere in the world, and think about that game in VR maybe. So back to the presentation. I hope you got what I wanted to say to you, or what you should get from the video. So 5G allows us, thanks to the low latency, that gamers can be anywhere in the world and play real games with real cars, maybe real planes, or whatever they want to on the another part of the world, which could be a new stream into esports as well. Why shouldn't I combine, for example, Formula One as we have it today with Formula One esports in that direction? That Formula esports players also drive the real Formula One cars. So you could, um, on the one side, the 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 viewers of the normal Formula One will love it because they still see their cars, they still hear the sound, and on the other side, the esports enthusiasts will have their fun because they can see how the gamers play the game by itself. And to finish my presentation with the question, is 5G a game changer for mobile gaming? I asked ChatGPT to answer the question. So, and as you can see, ChatGPT said yes, because of the reasons speed and latency, capacity, new opportunities for game development. These are all reasons we already agreed, which I already told you. But now ChatGPT had a major point, and with that point, I want to finish that presentation. So, however, in theory, 5G could be a game changer. It can benefit for gamers and for game developers in so many ways. But in the end, it depends on guys like you. It depends on the game developers. It depends on the content creators. It depends on the manufacturers to leverage the capabilities of 5G. So therefore, we have the technology and we need your ideas to make 5G a game-changing thing for mobile gaming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Philip, for the wonderful presentation, and I really liked it. And we also have one question from the participants, so quickly we can jump to the question. So, if you can see on the Q&A tab, the question is from Heinz Coulter. He said, "What do you think they will do about the data loss and collision that is common due to heavy network saturation?" Because how I see this as a constant issue just with normal cellular traffic usage, and imagine this to be a problem with some of these systems.
That's a good question. It might be helpful to know which case he's talking about, but I think in general we can say that is one of the USPs of 5G, because the heavy network saturation is a problem with 4G. That was the reason why many of these cases, like autonomous driving, could not happen with that. They needed their own solutions. But 5G will solve these problems due to its bigger capacity. So more and more devices can be connected with each other, and higher capacity in terms of download and upload, and overall network capacity that should solve the problem about the data loss, and therefore it hopefully prevents collisions and the problems which might come up if we would have these problems.
All right. So I hope, Haynes, you got the answer. So one more question to you, Philip. So if I am a gamer, so what five important things I need to know about 5G?
So I think five important points. So the first one is if you are a spontaneous person, you can download a new game whenever you want, and it will be it will be downloaded in seconds. So you don't have to prepare yourself for a gaming session. If a friend of you says, "Hey, do we want to try that out?" Yes, I just downloaded. Oh, I'm finished. That's the first thing. The second thing is, as I already told you, competitive gaming on mobile phones, 5G will make that happen wherever you are. It doesn't matter. Thanks to the low latency, we will have no issues here. The third point is um, what makes 5G also important for gamers is that you can look happily into the future because, as I already told you, you can expect to have new and interesting games, and especially in terms of VR and AR gaming. The fourth point is more or less, I guess, it's important to buy a device which supports 5G. If not, you might have a problem. And I think that's it. That's more or less the major points you need to know as a gamer about 5G.
I thank you so much, Philip, for the wonderful, wonderful answer. And thank you to all the key participants who have joined in for the session.